The United States is without a doubt the modern one of the most influential countries. It has more than 800 military bases located around the world. The economy is over $25 trillion. They shape global politics, culture and trade patterns. 15% of global consumption comes from the US market. So how did the United States grow from a small group of colonies, developed to today's level of strength? The birth of America derived from in an era dominated by absolute monarchy, a revolutionary idea. Declaration of Independence of not only did it mark America's departure from British rule, it also established individual fundamental principles such as inalienable rights. After independence, the young country is facing tremendous challenges: building an effective government, expansion of territorial safeguards, national sovereignty. However, it is these challenges shaping America as a formidable, a country of willfulness and ambition. 19th century, the United States embarked on an unprecedented process of the concept of dynastic destiny, driving the United States from the Atlantic coast expansion to the Pacific coast. This territorial expansion is not just about geography, more strategic. And so the United States massive natural resources, such as oil and fertile arable land. But this expansion also came at a heavy price. Forced evictions of indigenous peoples and territorial conflicts make a deep impression on this history. Even so, new territorial arrangements, still beautiful, the country's economic development has laid a solid foundation, the greatest test of American willfulness, from the Civil War. This conflict not only upholds national unity, they abolished slavery, let America be on a moral and economic level, have achieved repositioning. By the end of the 19th century, America is no longer a loose union of independent states, but grow into a strong force with continental strength. Go away follow-up. The foreshadowing of becoming a global superpower. At the same time, America also ushered in the Industrial Revolution. This period completely changed the face of the country. Between 1870 and 1900, technological progress and natural resource pushing the United States to the top of the global economy. One of the central pillars of this transformation, the steel industry. Steel is used to build railroads, key materials for bridges and skyscrapers, becoming an American urban development, a symbol of national connectivity. At the same time, oil and coal become the core energy source driving the new economy. Rockefeller led these economic changes. Morgan, point person. Rockefeller had a monopoly on the oil industry. Morgan integrated the US banking system. These entrepreneurs were known as robber barons. While amassing vast wealth, it's going to shape our economic future. Another key factor is mass migration. Millions of Europeans immigrated to the United States in search of opportunities. They form the core of the industrial workforce. They're involved in building cities, factory operations and infrastructure expansion, pushing America into the age of urbanization. This process brings both opportunities. It comes with challenges. Telephone. New inventions such as electricity have revolutionized daily life, but the city is crowded. Problems such as poor working conditions also emerged. Despite the difficulties, by 1900, the United States has consolidated its global status of the largest economy. The United States has a strong domestic market at this time, leading technological advancements and abundant natural resources already in global affairs, ready to play a central role. When World War I broke out, under the leadership of Wilson, the United States has taken a neutral stance. At that time, the United States was focused on domestic development, getting involved in overseas conflicts. But this neutrality did not last long. America and Europe, it has long been deeply bound through economic ties, exported large quantities to allies such as Britain material, and France. However, Germany's implementation of unlimited putting America's neutrality at risk. April 1917, the United States officially declared World War on Germany. Millions of American soldiers crossed the Atlantic, headed to the European battlefield. The entry of the US military into the war became a turning point in the war. European armies are exhausted after years of war. And America brought new energy, abundant resources, and a rising military power turned the tide of the war. After the armistice was signed in 1918, the United States played a central role in the peace negotiations. President Wilson proposed 10 four-point principles. This ambitious plan aimed at restoring the post-war order, avoid future conflicts. Although many of its ideas were not fully realized, but with the support of the United States, the precursor to the United Nations, the League of Nations, World War I marks the complete transformation of the United States into a global power. Although the United States returned to isolationism after the war, but its economic influence and cultural influence are both as being greatly improved. A more important global role for the future laid the foundation. 1920 South, the American economic boom and a period of optimism. It was called the Roaring Twenties. This era is marked by technological progress, mass consumption, with seemingly unassailable economic growth. But behind the prosperity, it's speculation. A fragile financial system underpinned by runaway credit. 1929 New York stock market crash. It completely destroyed the false prosperity. The crisis became known as the Great Depression. The United States and many other places dragged around into unprecedented economic hardship, business closure. Millions of people are unemployed. Bank closure. Thousands of families are in a desperate situation. As the crisis engulfs the country, President Hoover was widely criticized for his handling of the situation. This also paved the way for Roosevelt's rise to power. In 1933, Roosevelt promised to bring a New Deal to the American people. The New Deal was a series of measures designed to revive the economy, reforms to restore public confidence. Large infrastructure projects such as the Hoover Dam. Not only did it create a large number of jobs, it also promoted the modernization of the country, financial reform, and the establishment of a social security system. It provides stability and security to the people. At the same time, this crisis, it also forced the United States to reassess its own positioning with Europe. The rise of authoritarian regimes in Asia. Americans are gradually realizing the country's economic and political security and the global balance of power. Closely related, World War II broke out, bringing the world into war again. At first, the United States remained neutral, but through the Lend-Lease Act to the UK, allies, such as the Soviet Union, provide critical material support. This neutrality was achieved on December 7, 1941, completely broken. Japan raided the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The incident shocked the United States. The United States immediately declared war on Japan. Italy declares war. The United States rapidly mobilized the national economy. Go to war with the people. Millions of Americans were drafted into the military. American factories began to produce weapons on a staggering scale. Aircraft and ships. American troops in the Pacific and European all played a key role. In the Pacific battlefield, the Battle of Midway in 1942 was a turning point, forcing Japan to turn to defense. In the European battlefield, the Normandy landings in 1944 marked the beginning of the fall of the Nazi regime. Late World War II, the United States to Japan, Nagasaki, Hiroshima, drops the atomic bomb, forced Japan to surrender in 1945. World War II not only established the United States as the world's leader of a military power, it has further strengthened its economy. Core influence in the field of diplomacy. After the war, the United States became a major player in the new world order, assisted in the establishment of the International Monetary Fund, with key international institutions such as the World Bank. After World War II, the United States has ushered in an unprecedented the world's largest economy, the leading military power, and has a monopoly on nuclear weapons technology. But new challenges follow. The Soviet Union-led camp, in direct opposition to the US-led camp. This was the Cold War. It is not a direct military conflict between the two superpowers. It's a battle for global influence. Covers indirect conflicts, multiple dimensions such as technological competition and economic confrontation. In response to the Soviet threat, the United States launched the Truman Doctrine and the Marshall Plan. This strategy strengthened the UK. Strategic allies, such as France and West Germany. At the same time, the United States joined military alliances such as NATO. Invest in technological innovation. Maintain the lead. Space race. It was a symbol of the Cold War rivalry. After the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1, the United States responded with the Apollo program. Shows the intense competition between the two countries in the field of technology. In the 1980s, the Cold War has entered a crucial stage. Lee Gen adopted a hardline policy towards the Soviet Union. It became one of the important factors in the disintegration of the Soviet Union. After the end of the Cold War, the United States has become the only global superpower. further strengthening its position in the international system and leadership in global capitalism. In the decades that followed, America has ushered in a profound technological revolution. Not only did it reshape the domestic economy, transforming the way of life for billions of people around the world, Silicon Valley has become a global innovation hub. It gave birth to Microsoft, Apple, Google, Facebook, and other tech giants. The digital platforms built by these enterprises, connecting individuals in unprecedented ways, business and government. At the same time, the United States has always maintained its global economic leadership. Its GDP exceeds $25 trillion. The dollar has become the global reserve currency. This has allowed the United States to participate in the international finance advantage. Military field. The United States continues to expand its global influence. It maintains more than 800 military bases around the world and invest in drones. Advanced defense technologies such as artificial intelligence. These abilities ensuring that the United States remains the world's leading military power. The United States developed into the most powerful superpower in history. This journey is unique. Even if the future is full of challenges, its global influence cannot be ignored.